McNair gives it to George, running right up the middle. Touchdown! Titans! There are no flags on the field! It's a miracle!
Safety, now you're one-on-one with it.
Shows why he's the man! In trouble. Sack!
Ladies and gentlemen, Titan Nation, welcome back to another episode. Today, I have the gentleman who works for Cork Bats. We have the legend himself, Austin Huff. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Mr. Titan. How are you?
Call me Alex. Don't you? Thank you, though. I appreciate
No. Look, I like formalities here. You're Mr. Titan to me and the entire internet world. So, yeah, it'll be Mr. Titan. You're like, please. My father's Mr. Titan. Call me Alex.
You understand. When I had Gerald Maraff on, and he actually was constantly throughout the interview was like, "Yeah, Mr. Titan," and I'm trying. I'm like, dude, like,
yeah.
And he
did he yes sir you too? Yes sir. No sir.
But the funny part was when he signed that jersey and sent it to me, he put to Mr. Titan, which I'm like, it is what it is, whatever. It's
yeah, right. Maybe I'll just split the difference and just call you Mr. Alex, like like you're a daycare teacher and I'm your student, you know.
Yes, Mr. Alex. Yeah,
Mr. Alex. Yeah.
How you doing, though, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm better. Look, you catch me on a Monday after a dub, dude. You know, vibes are high right now, and I don't care that they're 3-8. This team is getting better every single week, which is like after the abysmal start that we've had. That's all I care for, and that's all I look for. And honestly, if they can continually get better as the season goes on, vibes will be so high going into the offseason.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so petty when it comes to things. Look, I wore my Oilers sweater.
Yeah. Hey, look, I got you.
Just smeared in their face. Like when I was
my gosh.
I went to the game and I was just like, everyone was walking down the ramp, and I'm like, I know how this feels going to Nissan Stadium and walking down that ramp and silence because we lost again. So yeah, I'm like, I'm taking selfies and everyone's in the back just like, and I'm like, I loved it. I loved every part of that, man.
To not just get a win, and to not just get a win where Will Levis looks good, and to not just get a win, Tony Pollard runs the ball well, not just get a win where the defense, for the most part looked pretty strong. But to get a win in Houston against the Texans, especially after Cal McNair's wife wouldn't stop running her mouth all offseason, that was the creme de la creme of that was just literally, that was a chef's kiss. If I could have put an emoji to it.
Bro, it's personal. When we play the Texans, it's personal, regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Every year, it's going to be personal. And it's, like I said, it's awesome. I love it. And you know what? Maybe the fact that we are 2-8 and we beat them and they were good, it's just like putting salt in the wound, man.
Yeah. And Will Levis getting his first division win, Brian Callahan getting his first division win, and a Brian Callahan team that has been, it's looked shaky for the better part of most of the season. And for them to go out and not just take down a division opponent, but one of the best teams in the AFC, and in their barn, that to me was that was awesome. And that was just showed the resilience that this team has. And I think the buy-in that this team has, because let's be honest, and look, I'm not here to, knock Vrabel since he's long gone and he's in the rearview mirror now, but that's something that you didn't get in the last season and a half with Vrabel, the last 7 games of 2022. And then all of last season, you didn't see them rallying around their guy. And you really saw that on Sunday. And that to me, it had a lot of blood rushing to my nether regions.
Well, there you go, bro.
Yeah,
Just don't stand up, all right, bro.
yeah, no, it's good. I don't even have pants on right now, so
I'm just saying, man. It's YouTube is it's a little. But how'd you become a Titans fan, bro? How'd you?
oh my gosh. Well, so I grew up in Nashville,
Oh,
and was like around the mid 90s is when I started to kind of get into the NFL.
mhm,
And this was around the same time as the NFL Yes campaign. To any OG Nashville residents, remember the yellow signs, yellow and navy blue signs that were in just about every single person's yard in Nashville. And it was, they had a campaign to
yep,
vote to get an NFL team to Nashville. And I vividly remember that. And I wanted an NFL team. I thought it was cool. But I also had my NFL fandoms. Like I started out as a Packers fan for like a season or two, and then I flipped to the Broncos because the Broncos got those brand new uniforms with the orange suspenders that I was just like, I thought those were the coolest looking uniforms ever. So I quickly became a Broncos fan, and they obviously were very good.
yeah,
And so I was a Broncos fan, even up through the first season that the Tennessee Oilers, or I guess the second season the Tennessee Oilers, because the first season was in Memphis, second season was at Vanderbilt Stadium, and I would go to the games and cheer for them. Obviously, like I was a fan of them, but I think I had more of a diehard interest in Terrell Davis, Shannon Sharp,
of course,
John Elway, Ed McCaffrey, all those guys on those, like the '98 Broncos team, and so in fact, to the point where that year, 98 for Christmas, I got a John Elway jersey, and there was a Tennessee Oilers Minnesota Vikings game, I believe, on December 26th of that year. And I went to the game because we had season tickets, and I went to the game and wore my Broncos jersey. And the woman sitting behind me that had season tickets behind us, I always remembered she was a Broncos fan, and we would always talk Broncos football at Tennessee Oilers games. Well, then that obviously the Oilers were kind of mediocre. They weren't the best team ever. But then my fandom just, I think, what fueled the flame, if you will, for lack of a better term, for lack of a
thank you.
worse pun, it was that 99 season, and it was seeing the Titans playing in their own stadium and having their own identity, and then them also being good and surprisingly good. That's what really just fueled my fandom. And I remember, gosh, that first season, every single game, um, just every Sunday, either at Adelphia Coliseum, and they need to rename Nissan Stadium Nissan Coliseum. They need
They
to.
should. They
I
missed
am
on that one.
I am championing that front very hard. You'll see more on that with Cork Bats a little bit later, but and then but then I remember in the playoffs, every week in the playoffs, I would go to church on Sundays, right? And most of the games were played on Sundays, and I would I when they would ask for prayer requests, I would always say, uh, you know, pray for the Titans, and like and so the Titans were on my prayer request. And let me tell you, prayer requests clearly work because they obviously they go to the Super Bowl that year, Music City Miracle, they run through Indianapolis, run through Jacksonville in the playoffs, and they go to the Super Bowl, and I'm like, I'm losing my mind. And luckily back then there was only 1 week in between the AFC Championship and the Super Bowl, so I didn't have to like lose my mind for much longer. But then yeah, and I remember we threw a Super Bowl party at my parents' house, and I had this sign, this like Titan sign on my door, my front door of my bedroom, and I would always hit it on the way out. I was obsessed, dude. And obviously that obsession, I will be honest, it did dwindle there in the early 2010s. I kind of became apathetic to the team, but it was quickly rekindled around the time Derrick Henry was drafted, and the new regime, Taylor Lewan, like those guys definitely refueled my passion. And I think my passion's at an all-time high, despite the terrible football that we've seen over the last, two seasons. But I will live and die with this team, and I will never I will never not root for the Tennessee Titans unless they did something, sleazy like signed Deshaun Watson or something like that. Then my morals would step in. But aside from that, I will be a Titans fan till I die.
Well, no, I mean, it's funny that you said like about like rekindling and like when I had Craig Hendricks on, Hendrick told me he was like, once they did the uniform reveals, it felt
Yeah.
like the fan base was like, "Hey, this is something we can claim. This is ours,"
Hmm.
and that's where he kind of saw that everyone kind of gathered together because, like he said, when the early starts, when they first started, he was like, "Man, coming from the Packers to the Titans, and they just finished winning
Yeah.
the Super Bowl, championship." He was like, "Yeah, it was a little rough, but." Like you said, once they kind of found their identity, and again, going to the Super Bowl, it's
Yeah.
pretty it's amazing.
Yeah. It was wild. Like 99, like obviously they were good kind of out of nowhere because I think the year before they were like 8-8 maybe. And then they obviously the very next year they go like I want to say like 13-3 or something in the regular season. And they obviously run through the playoffs and don't lose until the Super Bowl. And then like after that, they were good for like the next like 4 years. Like
Yeah,
they did not stop.
2002, maybe 2003,
Y-
2003.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I remember 2004 was the year Steve McNair won co-MVP. So like it was the Les Steckel led offense in 99. And then I can't remember. I don't think he was with them the next year, but that's when Brian Heimer or not Brian Heimerdinger, that was his son. Mike Heimerdinger took over as offensive play caller, and he was his offenses were incredible, and
Fantastic.
yeah, and it was just I don't know, it was that those were some fun times as Titans fans because you had your quarterback, who was really good. Although I have a take if Steve McNair played in this Twitter age today with Titans Twitter, he would be torn to shreds, and there would be a lot of naysayers about her. Like we like to look in like hindsight is 2020, retroactively look back and be like, man, he was this, we place him on this pedestal as I think we should. Obviously, I got his jersey literally right behind me, but I feel like people like the way I see them treat the Ryan Tannehills of this world and the Will Levises of this world, like
Rough, man.
McNair would have gotten because there were a lot of naysayers back then in the pre-internet age when like he wouldn't practice all week and then he would just show up on Sundays. Like people would have
They
like
would have
held
gone
his
off.
feet to the
Yeah.
fire on that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it is funny to see like look, I think he should be so revered, like because he was, obviously the ending of his story was, it's a little touchy, but he was by every sense of the word, an incredible community guy, an incredible player on the field. Like he was everything you'd want in a quarterback and more. And man, obviously, and the ending with him in Tennessee, let alone the ending to his life, like
Yeah.
that was not storybook by any sense of the word either. But I do love how much Titans fans are embracing him now.
No, definitely. 100%. And it's crazy how, like you said, like how in the beginning it was like you had this kind of like bumpy road where you got a taste of the Super Bowl almost, and they went good for all, a couple, like maybe 3 or 4 years after that. And then you have the Vince Young era, and then you have, like the Mike Mutt
Yeah.
era, and then Ken Whisenhunt, where we kind of take this nosedive and
Hmm.
then bring back, Marcus Mariota, you have Derrick Henry, and it kind of revives, you know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
again.
And you know what? I'll give a lot of credit to Amy Adams in that too, because, for the longest time, the best word I could use for the Titans franchise was it just grew stale. It's like if you've got bread that you leave out for a while, it just gets hard as a rock. And that's kind of what the Titans did. They banked a lot on the fact of, hey, remember the Music City Miracle. And they did very little to reinvent themselves, not just on the field, but off the field. And I'd say primarily off the field. If they had those like player survey rankings back then, the Titans probably would have ranked pretty low. And I don't think the investment was there from ownership. And I think a lot of people believed that, Bud Adams is never going to sell this team, but Bud Adams in his latter years, not to speak ill of him, but it was not good. His ownership was not good, and it just kind of got complacent. And when he unfortunately passed, obviously gets the team gets passed down to the family, and then there's the family dispute as to who's going to be the primary owner because of NFL rules and everything. And I think Titans fans are very fortunate that Amy Adams was the one that got control, because from day one, Amy Adams came in and kind of breathed new life into this team and invested into this team, into this franchise. And I'm talking from all levels. I'm not just talking about like on the field. Obviously, the
Everything.
on the field,
Yeah.
it took a few years. It took a while for the on the field product to get there, but everything else. I mean, you look at St. Thomas Sports Park today versus what it was when she first took over.
Yep.
It's an entirely different college campus now. Like it's an entirely different facility. And then you look at like just things like the social media and like the content that we get to consume as fans, and the in stadium aspects, ribbon boards and putting Titans in the seats at Nissan Coliseum. Like that to me is that, like, it should not go unnoticed just how great of a job that she has done. And I think she has done a lot of people, especially when the Titans were bad earlier this year. I saw a lot of people, calling for her to sell the team and she's a terrible owner. And I implore anyone who thinks that she's a terrible owner to go out and look at the other 31 franchises in football.
How they deal with it.
Yeah, I live here in Chicago. You want to talk about people who are infuriated with a team that plays in the number 3 market in the country, and their football franchise that has been around for over 100 years is run like a mom and pop shop, and people don't like that. They like they feel like they like the McCaskies will never make an in-season firing ever. So Matt Eberflus, for as poor as they're doing this year, he's not going to be fired in season. And that's just because that's how they do business. Like Jerry Jones, he meddles a little too much into his franchise. Stan Kroenke, he is in it just for the cash grab. He will up and move his team out of LA if a better business opportunity comes around.
True.
So, and as he already did with St. Louis. So I just feel like it can be much worse. There are very cheap owners in the NFL. There are owners that do too much. There are owners that don't do enough. And Amy Adams Strunk, I think, is in the right mix. Like she's in the Venn diagram of like good and great own. Like she's right there in the middle. She covers all the ground. And I think the analogy we used to say on the Titans podcast that I used to host was she's a driver's ed teacher, like she will sit back and let you drive the car. But if she sees you're starting to drive that off into a ditch, into a ravine, she's going to use her override steering wheel and get you back on the road, which is what we saw with John Robinson. It's what we saw with Mike Vrabel. And then now she's like, okay, look, Ran and Brian, this is your team. Do with it what you will. And again, like if anyone thinks Amy Adams Strong is a bad owner, first of all, look at her track record. Look at every move she's made, and every move, if it has done worse for the team, which, I mean, people will be like, yo, she fired Mike Vrabel and she got Brian Callahan. And that's been worse.
There's always going to be people like that. But even like listening to player wise, like players, how they're like, hey, yeah, I was for the longest.
They love her.
Yeah, the longest we weren't with the Titans organization. I wasn't really cool with the Titans organization till Amy Adams came.
Yeah.
Kind of worked her magic, brought the people in. There was a bunch of players I've talked to that had almost the same similar story with just, yeah, the Titans, the organization, this and that. And we kind of, I mean, they did things differently. I had, what's it called? My Griffin on. And I remember him telling me that he got fired on his day off. Like they just had his stuff. I'm like, that's terrible. That's not cool. I mean, he laughs about it now, but I bet you back then he was pissed off.
Yeah. And I don't think Steve McNair has the ending he had with the Titans, with this new ownership and with this new regime, and with with a GM like Rand, like they're humans first, and I think that really shows. And yeah, you're right. And to your point about like her bringing in the history and the tradition of the Houston Oilers. Like, yeah, it's like that may not mean as much to Nashvillians, but I assure you that means a ton to the players. It means a ton to the people that were in a franchise who almost like felt like in this, in this, like no man's land, like this area of like, oh, well, Houston's got a team, but I'm not a part of the Texans franchise. I'm part of the Titans franchise, but they don't even, recognize the Oilers. Like Amy has kind of brought that in under one umbrella and implemented the homecoming weekend, which I think is one of the coolest things in football, where you bring back all these guys for 1 week out of the year for a home game and you celebrate the tradition of the Houston Oilers, the Tennessee Oilers, and the Tennessee Titans. And I just think that's super cool.
That's the best time to tag Houston Oilers. I mean, Houston Texans fans. You just tag them and just take a picture. I did that a couple of years ago when I went to homecoming. Took a picture of I think Warren Moon. I was like, yeah, and I didn't say anything. I just tagged them. It's the best. And they go ham. It's the best. But it is what it is, man. But so she's I think she doesn't get as much credit. I mean, again, a lot of people like to try to point fingers. I think it's human nature. Point fingers when things are going wrong, but when the things are going good, just like Will Levis, they're still going to complain about Will Levis regardless.
Yes.
Sure. It is what it is. You're not going to please everyone, unfortunately, and some people like to bitch.
Well, and a lot of people develop narratives in their heads and they don't love to admit either when they're wrong or when the narrative has changed. Which is, it's hard for people to cope with. And I honestly, I think that's one of the reasons why Ryan Tannehill didn't get as much national praise when he was with Tennessee for as good as he was. I mean, there was probably a season and a half when Ryan Tannehill was the third best quarterback in football statistically. I mean, you can go back and look it up. Like, he was the third best quarterback in football. It was Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Ryan Tannehill, interchangeable amongst the biggest stat categories in football. And the reason Ryan Tannehill, I don't think, got as much national attention and love for all that he was doing was, one, there were bigger stars on the team than him, Derrick Henry, namely, like an AJ Brown. But I think it was also a large part because of the 8 years he spent in Miami prior to that. And for 8 years, writers and reporters and everyone are just basically writing him off as being a dud. He was a terrible quarterback in Miami, and he was not great in Miami, but he comes to Nashville and he breathed new life into this franchise. And I think that it was hard for people to come around and be like, oh, Ryan Tannehill is good, because they had it built in their mind for 8 years that Ryan Tannehill was bad. Kind of like what we're seeing right now with Will Levis, which I guess he was injured for 3 of the weeks, but for, 5 weeks this season, we were telling ourselves, Will Levis is one of the worst quarterbacks in football. And so people are like they're harder and slower to come around when he actually is playing good football. And he threw a pick six. Yeah, he still holds onto the ball a little bit too long. Keep in mind, Sunday was his official rookie season ending. I think that was 17 games of him actually playing a full rookie season. So
all the time, I'm like, he's still technically a rookie. And but people don't.
So and he's gonna get that coach out of him. He already looks better, and and if you don't want to attribute that to Will Levis, at least tribute to Brian Callahan, which a lot of people don't want to give him credit for this turnaround that we've seen. But obviously Bill Callahan, what he's done with this offensive line has been. It's been nothing short of miraculous, because this is one of the worst offensive lines in football. And I still feel like it is a really bad offensive line. However, they're making it work, and he's coaching them up, and he's making them look somewhat decent, and they're running the football well. Like, if you can watch this team on Sunday and not admit that they're getting better every week, then we're watching two totally different teams. Maybe you're watching early season tape, but from what I'm seeing from my eyes, I'm like, this is exactly what I wanted to see from the Titans this year, whether the wins come or not. Because I think we've passed that point in the season where it's like, okay, the wins and losses, those are secondary. I just want to see improvements from week to
Improvement.
week.
That's it. That's all you can ask for as of right
If they do stack up a couple of dubs, look, I will be in the conductor's seat of that hype train. Okay. Like I will be riding this train into the sunset
now.
in like just to hype this team and create as much noise as possible to let people know that the Titans are coming. However, until that comes, look, I'm going to take it 1 week at a time. Look, I'll do the player cliche speak, 1 week at a time. But if they continue to stack some dubs, my goodness, dude, look out. Look the hell out.
Yeah, I never understand the whole thing about tanking and having players wanting to tank or the team wanting to tank. Let me tell you, man, I got passes to go um, after the post game pass, and I was hanging out just watching Will Levis come, and I was talking to his one of his cousins. And he went and hugged his cousin, and he was just like, so you can tell the cousin was like, yeah, it's been rough this year, but he got his first win in the division, so he's really excited.
Yeah.
You can tell, man, he was really excited. Like he wants to win. Like I just don't
Yeah.
understand. People are like, oh yeah, they should just like lose out. Like you can't tell a professional athlete, hey, don't worry, yeah, just lose. Like it's not in their
No.
DNA to do that. Like
No, no, no. I mean, these are guys with jobs. These are
exactly.
guys with jobs. That'd be like
Hey,
that'd be
go
like,
do your job and do it shitty though. Like don't worry
yeah,
about it.
yeah, yeah. Right. Like, oh, hey, by the way, you're on the chopping block, but go ahead and keep sucking. And
Yeah,
like
don't worry about it. They're good.
and it's the most cutthroat probably job in America. And you're like, yeah, just lose, guys. And that's the thing I don't understand. Like when people are like, oh, let's keep losing. Like they get mad when a team wins, like where the Titans are at. They get mad. Like I will never ever come to terms with that because let's be honest, people put all there's a growing epidemic in professional football where fans of teams that aren't elite
Mhm.
believe that the draft is this magic trampoline that will launch you into relevancy. And it's not. The draft is a crapshoot at best. It's basically placing your chips on a roulette, the felted green table of a roulette table, and you are hoping that when you spin that wheel, that it lands on either black or red, whatever you bet on. Like,
That's it. Yeah.
and that's what it is. Like, think about how many draft picks the Titans, especially the Titans. Think about how many draft picks that were made over the last 10 seasons. That's both John Robinson in the good John Robinson years and the bad, and the good Rand Carthen years and the bad. Think about how many draft picks they've made that never panned out, that didn't do anything. And you're putting all of your stock. Like when I see people say, trade Jeffrey Simmons for multiple draft picks,
Like
think about that. Think about that. You finally have a guy who was probably in the top 5 at his position in the National Football League. And you want to just trade him away for just a couple of draft picks, which may or may not pan out. But then also, in doing so, you have another hole to fill.
yeah.
Like you want someone like
yeah.
Jeffrey, like we struck gold with Jeffrey Simmons, and you're like, yeah, but throw that gold away for the chance for some more gold.
Yeah.
Like what? Like you have the gold in you. It's a bird in the bush is worth 2 in the or wait, a bird in the bush is worth 2 in the hand. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's
Okay. I'm not familiar with that saying. I just busted it out for the
It's
first
fine.
time. But that
sounds good. It sounded good.
it's a blue in the bush is worth 2 in the hand. Two-tone blue. Shit, there you go. That is like, and I get so confused when people are like, you got to trade everything away. You got to get draft picks. You got to load up. And like, this team is going to miss out on the number 3 pick
exactly.
when, and instead get the number 9 pick. And I'm like, look, I have faith in Rand Carthon, no matter where we're drafting, whether it's number 2 or 32. Rand Carthon is going to find the right person at that position. Why? Because he's already shown that he drafts very well. And I trust that he knows more than me, said fan who watches, invests maybe, 8 hours a week to this team, whereas he is there 100+ hours every single week in the building. Like I just don't understand that, and I wish Titans fans would and it's not just Titans fans, it's all NFL fans, but I
Yeah.
wish fans would just realize like the draft does not carry as much weight as you think it does. The draft is not football. You're watching football, and if your team wins, that's what you want. At the end of the day, as fans, we want our teams to win football games. So don't get mad when they win football games.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I get very angry at fans when they're like, oh, let's suck for some better
Yeah.
draft
Well,
picks.
I think it's also too, it's like the day and age. I think a lot of people, it's just like the instant gratification. The instant gratification of like, hey, if we get a draft,
Yes.
guess what? We're gonna get this person on top three, and we put Sanders or we put
Mhm.
other guy in, and hey, guess what? He's gonna be good. But let me tell you, regardless of who you put in QB, if that offensive line is not fixed, he's gonna be running for his life too. So I just that instant gratification, it's bad with coaching.
Let,
It's with everything, you know?
let me yeah, and that's a great point. And you know what's no better case in point for that is not to bring them up again, but it's where I live and it's where I work. And
Oh,
I live and breathe it every single day.
that's what it is.
Caleb Williams was the surefire pick in the draft. He was the next best thing. He was the next Patrick Mahomes, the
He
next
was
Tom
the savior.
Brady.
He was the
He
savior.
was the savior, the anointed one. And he's texting the punter that they drafted in the draft last year, saying, "Hey man, happy to have you on the team, but we're not going to need your services very much." He was everything that Bears fans had wanted. He was already, before throwing a pass, they were already saying, we have our first 4,000-yard passer in franchise history. And then what happens? He comes out. He has a learning curve. And don't get me wrong, I think Caleb Williams will be great. I do.
You think so?
But I do. I think he'll be very good. Obviously, he just threw for 340 yards against a very good Vikings defense on Sunday. So like I do think he can be good. Obviously, he's got the weapons around him, and I think if they get the right offensive play caller, which they fired theirs, just a couple of weeks ago, I think yes, I do think he will be good. But for that right there should go and show you draft picks don't always pan out.
Yeah.
And especially, if you're looking for a day one rookie starter at any position, let alone at quarterback, it's hard. The NFL is very hard. It's grown men playing against, in some instances, like teenagers in a way, like your rookies versus your veterans. That is literally grown adults versus kids. And for you to think that like, oh, well, if we get this draft pick or if we get this draft pick, like Xavier Worthy, when he went to the Chiefs, and he had a great like week 1, week 2, but he's kind of fallen off a little bit. Like even him, like it's like no rookie is a surefire bet
I agree.
in football. And so when you put all your stock and your hopes in the idea of a draft pick panning out, you're forgetting the whole reason we're fans in the first place is to stack up wins and to win games. And that's what we're seeing right now. And the season is not over for the Titans. They have all but 2 of their divisional games left in front of them. Like I'm not saying that they will make the playoffs or anything like that. That's obviously it's crazy, but it's not out of the possibility. And if this team continues to get better and better every week, I mean, we could go back to those. Look, I mean, going into this season, did we not all have expectations that this team was going to be really good?
I think I said the ceiling was 6 wins, the highest 7, just because new coach, new offensive scheme, they
Sure.
got to get familiar. That's when I
You're
said
you're more level. You're way more level headed than me. Look, hand raised. I was like, this team's
12
winning
wins.
10 games.
Man, I was getting crucified, which is fine. I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, you have your own opinion. I understand.
Yeah.
Cool. That's cool. I'm just saying, realistically, I like 6, 7 games, and people are like, "Oh, you're crazy, Mr. Alex." No, I'm kidding. Oh, you're
Yeah,
crazy,
yeah,
Mr.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. All the kids in your
Like,
daycare were like just
I was just like,
flipping out.
yeah, and I was like, that's cool. I understand, and for that, like, that's cool, and I understand. And people were flipping out yesterday's game because JC Latham didn't have a very good game. But when's the last time he hadn't had a really good game? He's
Yeah, right.
solid, man, and he's a
Mhm.
rookie still. And again, a lot of people don't understand that. Like he's gonna have growing pains. He's gonna have a mixed match, and unfortunately, yesterday showed. And it's not bad. It's gonna as long as he learns from that and continues. But he's been
Yeah.
solid. He's been
And
really
he was also going up against the former defensive rookie of the
yeah.
year,
Come
Will
on,
Anderson. Like it's like he's going up against really good opponent. And let's be honest, not all of us have our best days at the office every single day of the week. And that's how you have to look at this. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
there are going to be some days where Will Levis, where Legarius Sneed, where a JC Latham, a Peter Skoronski, all of these guys are going to have bad days at the office. Calvin Ridley had a few bad days at the office this year, and look at him now. Like you have to look at the big picture rather than hone in on one game. JC Latham's big picture this season has been tremendous. He's been
Awesome.
great. He's been
Awesome.
everything we've asked for. And so if you're going to single him out for Sunday,
Yeah. Then
why?
yeah,
Like
exactly.
take a step back. Take the 10,000-foot view of this season and realize that no, we got a dog in JC Latham. We got a dog in
We're
Peter
talking
Skoronski.
his first game is now halfway through the season. It shows you're ready. What kind of player?
Mhm.
He is. So
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, it's wild, man. Titans fans, they're I love them, but it's wild sometimes. Don't get me wrong. It's fun. It's fun being a fan and just being in the craziness. It's
Yeah. Oh, look, Titans Twitter is the best because it is the most toxic place on the internet. I will say that first and foremost. But when things are good,
oh,
when the
they're
vibes
great.
are
Oh my
high, when the
God.
vibes are high, there's no better place on the internet. Because of what it is, you know what Titans Twitter is? It's it's Vol's Twitter, which Vol's Twitter is
No,
equal parts that. It is that on steroids. It is when things are bad, it is toxic as hell. But when things are good, that is one of the best Twitter fan bases on planet Earth, and they will let you hear about it. They will sometimes a little too nasty, but they will be that way. So it's Vols Twitter in one circle, and then it's Braves Twitter. I don't know if you're a baseball fan,
man.
but Braves Twitter is one of the most fun Twitters in on planet Earth. And but when things are bad, again, it can sometimes get nasty.
Yeah.
So when you get that Venn diagram of those two circles coming together, that
Cool.
middle part right there, that is Titans Twitter. And it is equal parts fun and toxic. And my goodness, it is a wild roller coaster ride every single day. I need to put on a helmet just to log on to my Twitter account and read my timeline every single day, especially in seasons like this one. But
Uh,
on Mondays like today, after a dub against a division opponent, not just any division opponent, but the Houston Texans that try and steal our identity at every waking breath, just it was a fun day to scroll today.
Hell yeah. And it's crazy though, even when we are doing bad, try to put a little bit like a comedy into it, and people don't go for it. They're like, "Oh, you think it's funny that we're 2-8? You think it's fun?" I'm like,
Yeah.
what do you want me to do? You want me to be here?
Yeah, we can't change that. We can't change that. Like we have to, and that's kind of always been my philosophy is like, look, it sucks. Things suck right now, and we need to bring some levity to being fans because that's honestly what it is we're fans. We're fans of laundry. And if Will Levis or any if Derrick Henry goes and leaves teams, we're
Oh,
not fans of him anymore. Like, and it hurts, but it's like it's true. We are fans of literally the laundry and whoever is rocking the two-tone blue. And that's why I get so irate when people get are harder on Titans players than division rivals are. Like it's like if anything, we should be the ones that are the most supportive in the darkest times. And but it's not that way. And I understand frustrations boil into it. And I understand that, we just want to cheer for a winning product. And when you don't get that,
and get nasty.
the adverse effects happen. But if anything, like Titans fans need to be loyal. And there's a few that I can think of online that are just loyal through thick and thin. And that's just all I hope to be. And I just want to set an example for other Titans fans of like, look, even when this team is bad. And we felt it many times this season. When this team is in its darkest, lowest points, I'm still going to be riding high, man. I'm still going to be waving my Titans flag. I'm still going to be rocking my Titans gear at the airport. I'm still going to be proud of to be a Titans fan. And if you're not, that's okay.
Yeah.
But at the same time, why are you a Titans fan? You know, like if there were many people that are like, I hate this team. I hate Miss Amy. I hate, Will Levis. I hate Brian Callahan. I hate his daddy.
Yeah,
I
like,
hate Mason Rudolph. And you're like, Mason
what
Rudolph?
did
How
he
could you
do?
hate Mason
Yeah.
Rudolph? And like, like they'll say that. And I'm just like, okay, if you hate all those people,
You should.
then why are you a fan? Why
Yeah.
are you a Titans fan? Like, yeah, things suck right now. We can all admit that.
Yeah.
But like, isn't this going to make the wins that much sweeter?
Yeah.
Like,
Look at today.
right?
You can't tell me, man. The
Right?
best 3 wins of our lives right now, man. Come on. Come on.
Yeah, like the Chiefs are what, 10-1, and they just barely beat the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
And they're probably miserable today. Whereas the Titans,
This is
we just won to go 3-8, and like we are feeling the best we've maybe felt all season since before the season started. Like,
yeah.
so like it just goes to show you, like, we will appreciate the wins, and then once we do, and I'm not saying if, I'm saying once we do, when we do lift a Lombardi, we're going to remember these times. We're going to remember these times and remember the pain and the agony and just the like the endless dread that we felt every single Sunday with this franchise. And it is going to make seeing the Titans hoist that Lombardi that much sweeter. And that's just all I'm trying to promote. And I want, even when vibes are low, I still want to encourage Titans fans to be strong and supportive and unwavering in their loyalty. And I think you don't get a lot of that because you want that instant gratification, and we're not getting that right now.
Mhm.
But let me assure you, if you just stay the course, it's almost like, consider me freaking William Wallace, and I'm telling, I got the front lines behind me, like, just hold, guys, hold for right now, okay? Our day will come, and we will charge, and we will, charge proudly with our faces not just covered in blue paint, but two-tone blue paint.
No, yeah. I mean, I've had interviews where I interviewed Bernard Poller. People were bashing me. Why are you interviewing him? He bashed the Titans when he left. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, okay, well, I don't have a choice in who I interview. He said yes, I'm gonna go with him. Okay. He played for the Titans. And just to give him some degree, the organization at that time was terrible. He just left the Ravens where they wanted
And
to.
Bernard was a Delaney Walker type, where he was hands down the best athlete on the field on really bad Titans teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So I've mad. I know he's kind of taking some shots at the Titans or whatever, but I still have mad respect for that dude. He
I
is.
do too. I did have to edit the video, and I never placed. This is the first time. I usually never like edit my videos. I just kind of just wherever it goes, it goes. But I don't know why, for some reason, towards the end of the video, I'm like, hey man, if you would have to tackle Derrick Henry, you think you could tackle him? And he said, I would destroy him. And I was like, oh my, I was like, why did I ask like this? They hate you now. Like, they're gonna destroy.
Yeah.
I changed it. I cut that out because I'm like, I can't. That's like,
Yeah.
it was just.
But
it
you
was,
know what? Like, wouldn't you want him to say that? Like,
I don't
look,
know.
I'm the biggest
It was a bad setup.
Derrick.
That was my fault. That was my fault.
Yeah, look, I'm the biggest Derrick Henry apologist in the world, and like I freaking love Derrick Henry so much. But like, like, look, that dude he's an athlete, he's a competitor. Of course, he's not gonna say, "Oh, I would get stiff armed into oblivion. I would get Josh Norman into the Cumberland River." Like, no, he's not gonna say that. He's gonna freaking say, "I would destroy him," and as he should, like,
Yeah,
and I think we all know the truth in that. It probably wouldn't happen, but like, I want him to say that.
I was like, I respect that. I'm like, that's cool. I was like, in my head, I'm like, oh shit, I gotta edit this thing right now. I was like, yeah, thank you.
Plus, look, growing up with the first name of Bernard, like, you gotta prove how tough you are, right?
Yeah, it's like what's that Johnny Cash song? Sue. Boy
Yeah,
named
a boy named Sue. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you got
If I was Bernard, I would go by Mr. Titan. That's what I would do.
and if I was Bernard and I go by Mr. Ty, I'll go by Mr. Alex. That's it. I'm changing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
Right,
it.
right,
The channel's changed, brother.
right.
Man, it's getting late. I don't want you to keep you up. I know you have a baby and stuff like that, but I want to say I appreciate you coming on and talking a little bit of Titans, man. Definitely a pleasure having you on, man, and love your work and keep up the
Yeah.
man.
No, thank you, Alex. I appreciate it, brother, and appreciate all that you do because I do feel like you are one of the good ones, and you are you definitely promoting how to be a good
Awesome.
Titans fan. And honestly, I think we need more of that. And I again like times are down right now. I'm sure in these down times clicks are down. You know, trust me, I
Yeah,
see it
yeah.
firsthand with cork bats. Like, you know, like when things are low, clicks are down.
Yeah, nobody wants to watch. Yeah.
So not just for business, but for our own fandom, like, you know, here's to the Titans just continuously getting better and continue making some great content. It's going to pay off. And thank you for taking the time to chat with me and get my blood revved up on a Monday night, man. I'm fired up, dude. I'm freaking ready to run through a brick wall.
All right, brother. Well, tighten up, all right?
Tighten up, brother.